And welcome to everyone that's joining us on the Mastering AI in Sales. We're going to be talking about maximizing efficiency and amplifying results. And you know my eminent guest, Andy Champion, who's not feeling too well today. So it's really great that he's joining us with all of his insights. Now, this is only 20-25 minute session where we'll discuss artificial intelligence, generative AI, and the transformative effects on sales, all things sales. Now, for those of you that have already connected with me, thank you. Please do connect with myself and Andy Champion on LinkedIn. Sometimes you have questions after the session. Please do weigh in. Andy's always very generous with his time and answers and supporting other CROs, CEOs, sales leaders on their journey. But you're going to be finding out that he is a mind of information. He's got so many years of experience in sales. So that's why I've had Andy on for, I think this is our third session, isn't it, really? You know what they say, never I say someone, can I pick your brains? And actually, secretively, that's exactly what I've been doing, Andy, to you.
Well, I'm touched to be back, and I'd echo what you say. I love the feedback. I love the interaction. Mine is just one opinion, and I am learning as much as everybody else. So I'm sure there are people that are listening today that will have thoughts. I'd love to hear those. So please do engage with us.
Yes, exactly. For those of you, I know a lot of people listen to the recording, but for those of you that are on live, please do post your comments. This is as much about you, about your experience. If you agree with us, if you don't, absolutely fantastic. Please do post it in the comments. We would love to hear your views about what we're going to be talking about. So, for my next session, I'm talking to Mary Shea on the 27th, and we're discussing the future of work and workforce. And as you know, Andy, AI, generative AI, that's a big subject around the workforce. So we're not going to be talking about that here, but let's delve into what we are talking about, which is the realms of artificial intelligence and the transformative impact on the sales landscape. Now, let's just kind of have a bit of a definition here of what that means, what we are talking about, what's in AI and mastering AI in sales. Now, I would say currently it's still a tool. It's a tool that automates repetitive tasks, analyzes large data sets, more than this little brain can do, and also provides valuable insights into sales reps, their performance, and the pipeline of sales and customers' interaction. Would you agree with that, or would you say it's more than that, or something different?
I think right now, the reality is that we're leveraging large language models, machine learning, and we're still very much in the stage of being algorithm based, right? We are not yet at the stage where generative AI is replacing a human being. We may get there, we may not, who knows? That's not for today. What today is about is how generative AI can be used alongside people to complement what they do and to accelerate what they do. And I think we are very much in that era now. And for those people that are listening, for those people that are listening to the recording, those people that are here live, I'd suggest that if you are not already leveraging generative AI in some areas of your business, you're probably missing out. To put it another way, you're probably behind the curve because your competitors, whether it's your competitors, the rep on the other side of the deal that you're trying to sell, whether it's competitors to your business, they will be. And they will be using it to help achieve more with less time. And generative AI is in a place where it can guide what we do, inform what we do, give us a perspective that helps us be better at what we do. But it is not replacing what we do. And it's really important that we have that those human checkpoints along the way.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. It's not replacing, because that is really the biggest fear of many people, many salespeople. And when you have fear, people tend to be reticent about diving in and exploring it. They just stay within the fear. So thank you for highlighting that. Let's delve into, the maximizing the efficiency in sales. What are the actual tools that we're talking about? How does it actually work, Andy?
Oh my goodness, where do you want to start? From tools that can help you identify accounts within your territory or within your rep's territory that are showing signs of buying behavior. Maybe they're considering technologies or tools or services such as those that you sell. The reality is that's a huge business case. I am biased because that's what my business does. We help uncover the 3%-ish of your accounts that are actually in market and want to talk to you. My first job as a salesperson when I came out of the military was making 100 dials a day. I didn't have technology. I didn't even have the internet. Yes, I am that old. It didn't exist. And so my job was literally 100 calls a day, trying to get through to people that might or might not have a job. Technology can solve that. Now, it can also solve for how do you communicate. So not just the timing, but it can help guide what you might include. So something simple to get people started, ChatGPT or your chosen tool, help go in there and use it to help you do your account research. Upload the latest annual report or quarterly earnings, give it the website, ask it questions, interrogate it. What are the key points? Help it summarize. AI is fantastic at taking large amounts of data and turning it into actionable information. All you need to do is to ask it smart questions. So 2 very simple use cases, right? Identify the right accounts, and then using that information or using AI, understand what you might want to say. As a salesperson going into a call for the first time, I would advise you to have a hypothesis. Gone are the days when we can join a call and say, tell me about your priorities. I mean, that used to work like 10 or 15 years ago, and people used to engage that. People, the executives I know, the executives that I speak to, expect you as an individual or your team, if you're a sales leader, to have an informed view, to have done your research. And generative AI reduces that barrier, and it helps you lead with a conversation, even if it is just to say, hey, Janice, when I talk with individuals like you, typically there are 3 main challenges. 1, 2, 3. Tell me, how are you doing in this area? You can get all of that insight, all of those ideas using generative AI and publicly available information. So if you're stuck from where to start with those 2.
Yeah, and I have ChatGPT and other tools open all the day, constantly, giving it the smart questions, because it saves me. I get 2 days worth of work from doing research and so forth, and making sure my content is absolutely focused and personalized to the person that I'm trying to reach. That would take me about 3 days, and I can do it in 1 just by having those tools open. So it delves a lot deeper than I could just by asking the smart questions, but saves me an untold amount of time. And so I think that's a really great start. Do what you're already doing, but allow the tools to do it quicker and to a deeper level than you can do yourself. And then it's not so far removed from the work that you're already doing.
I think the analogy is really simple, right? If you play golf, if you're an athlete, right, the top athletes in the world, even maybe they're not top tier, have coaches. I used to do county level athletics. We had coaches. Coaches are there to help amplify your skills and your innate ability. AI is just the same. And unlike coaches, it's there and it's widely available. It doesn't matter whether it's identifying the accounts that might be a market that you probably want to prioritize in your day, helping you understand what to say to them, But then, for the sales leaders that may be listening, right, we're all leveraging AI in our forecasting, whether using Gong, whether using Clary, whether using another tool. Those tools are now looking at that data and giving us a perspective, help guiding us as sales leaders on where we might want to inspect a deal, where it might be slowing down, where there might be risk, where there might be opportunities. So we're using that data as sales individuals, as sales leaders, and we're using it to help coach ourselves and our colleagues to be better. And that's where I'm saying generative AI is not about replacing you. It's not about replacing me. It's about amplifying what we do. But if you are not leveraging it, you are at risk from being replaced by the people that are.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a use case, one of your examples, in that it's led to a shift in BDR resources being deployed. So tell me more about that.
So one of the interesting emerging use cases that we're exploring is how do we use generative AI to actually drive those early stage discussions to help complement the work of human BDRs, but perhaps in areas that economically it is challenging to do at scale. So, for example, we are looking at low intent, low value opportunities. We get a lot of inbound inquiries within 6 cents, and we can't cover all of them with all of the humans that we've got. It's just not scalable. When you're selling deals that are maybe 10K or what have you, you've got to be very cost effective. Now, the beauty about generative AI is that once you've stood it up and turned it on, it doesn't take holidays, it doesn't need a weekend, it's on 24/7. Now, that's important because you can respond in the moment. We use it for 7 different use cases, and we are generating 13% of our pipeline every single month through the use of something we call conversational email. And the more we go through it, the more it learns, the more effective it gets. On average, it is booking more meetings than our human BDRs, not because necessarily it's, I wouldn't contend, better, but it's there and it's always on and it can cover more ground. So, you can use it with cases where you want to revisit opportunities that closed maybe 6 or 12 months ago, that you want to see, is there any life in it? Is it coming back around? And again, all of that is generative AI. All of that is like having a natural conversation with a human being. And the smart thing is, if it gets stuck, it promotes it up to a BDR. If it gets to a certain level of qualification, it promotes it up to a BDR for a seamless handover and a conversation. So the customer experience is just like engaging with a human being.
And that's interesting because often chatbots, virtual assistants are a little bit not like a human being, and you can get more frustrated. But the point I really wanted to pick up was what you said. It's always on, it's 24/7, and we all deal with kind of a global supply chain, and being able, and there's the stats that the rep that responds the quickest and the earliest is more likely to win the deal. And having this kind of always on, being able to respond, I wonder how much of that is the uplift of the 13% that you're really winning. I mean, just the fact that you're responding quicker, and it's quite targeted because you're able to crunch so much more data to make sure it's very personalized to the customer at the other end, potential customer.
It has to be personalized, right? And here's the thing: the tools are only as good as the data and the model that the data used to train the model. So don't skimp on that. Make sure you get that right, because when it goes wrong, it can go wrong, right? Spectacularly. So it's all about how you set that model up. So I wouldn't skimp on that. But you mentioned about the importance of engaging first. We did a study just committed 3 months ago. And this was in this context of B2B buying. And the short story is that we found across the landscape across thousands and thousands of deals, 84% of the time, the organization that establishes that connectivity, that connection first, wins the deal. And for those of us that have been around for a while, we kind of knew this all along, right? If you get a blind RFP, I was always taught to be very skeptical because somebody else has probably written it for that customer. Now, that's not always the case, and RFP and procurement now are much more stringent about that influence. But the reality is, if you as an individual and as a team can get in there first, the odds are stacked in your favor. 84% of the time across that general subset of data, we saw the vendor that was first in contact with. And hey, even if it's only half that for your company, you're still winning 42% of the time. And most sales leaders would be quite happy, I would suggest, with a 40 to 50% win rate.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a study by McKinsey found that AI-driven sales strategies can increase leads by up to 50% and improve call time efficiency by 60 to 70%. So, that's in line, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm keen to understand, there was something that you said in our kind of pre-call. Think journey, not cadence. And this is in relation to personalization and content recommendations. So tell me more about that.
So I think, what led me to suggest that, and again, this is just my view, I could be completely wrong with this, but if you look at what's happening or what's happened over the last 20 years, I can probably look back in MarTech and from the early days of Eloqua and Marketo and the likes to where we are now, our ability to harness data, the computing power that is available to us. Traditionally, we've thought in this concept of campaigns. More recently, tools have helped amplify the work of BDRs and in some cases AEs who are leveraging it around cadences. Now, cadences are fantastic. They allow us to execute outreach at scale. One of the limiting factors with that until relatively recently whilst you can get the timing right, it's very difficult to adjust to the content dynamically. That conversational email example I gave you earlier, it is literally just like our conversation now. We are reacting. It is reacting to the information that comes back, whether it's an out of office, whether it's, hey, you don't want to speak to Andy, but you need to speak with Janice because she's the person that really is making this decision. It can react to that. And so when I talk about, we know who the boss is here. When I talk about, from campaigns to journeys, we're really not very far conceptually from a place where each journey will be individualized. It will follow that crazy mess. Sometimes you see the buying journey portrayed as like that bowl of spaghetti with like the one piece on the left and the one piece on the right, and in the middle you've just got like the mess. And that's the reality of it. That's why attribution doesn't really work, right? Because you can't sort out that mess in the bowl. What you do know is it all contributes to a hearty meal, but which bit of spaghetti actually filled you up? Well, it all did, and it's the same with attribution. So I think using generative AI, using tools, for example, now you can produce content at scale using tools like Phrasee, who help individualize that. You can use tools like ours I spoke about to help drive the cadence and the content. You can bring all these things together to, I think, very soon fulfill the promise that I first came across about 25 years ago of true one-to-one marketing, whether you're in the B2C world or whether you're in the B2B. And I think we're on the cusp of that. And the big winners will be the people that can move to that place first and that dare to be different, that dare to challenge the status quo. Because the reality is, as buyers, we all know that we want to be treated by individuals. We all know when we're put into a cadence, right? And it just feels a bit, yeah. But if you engage with me when I'm at that stage where I'm starting to do my research and maybe I'm in a buying cycle and do so intelligently using all of the power of generative AI alongside your skill as a salesperson, as a sales leader, it's actually going to increase your chance not only to get in front of me first and tip the odds in your favor, but then start to influence me with your thought leadership, with the things that maybe I've not thought about. All of those things, I think, can be fulfilled, and all of those things can start to deliver on that promise of a journey, not a campaign.
Yeah. And it almost comes back to the thought that I had when you were talking at the beginning here, that customers, buyers want, tell me what I don't already know. And that's what it is all about. That's really what they want. That, of course, is relevant. It's going to take them to the next stage. But that's what they're crying out for again and again and again. And having that curiosity in the beginning and you leveraging AI to fill those gaps and allows you to actually have the conversation saying, typically buyers, CEOs, whoever you might be talking to, these are the top 3 things. And I know this because I've read this on your website. This is the link to what you've said before. Is that still relevant to you? Yeah, that's what they want. They want to know that people want to feel they're significant, and they want to feel they've been listened to, and they're putting out information all the time. But often salespeople haven't got the time and inclination, and possibly not the interest sometimes, because it's all about them and their targets. That hopefully we're moving into a stage where the enabler of generative AI will stop a lot of that gap in it's all about me and not about the customer, it's all about the customer, because I've got so much information that's useful to you.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with the generalization of salespeople. I know many of them that actually are very disciplined about having the customer's needs at heart, because unless you're serving that, the reality that you're not going to sell coal to Newcastle. You're not going to sell.
Andy, I like to be. Yeah.
I know you do. And I know you like. There's always good to have a bit of tension, constructive tension. Very important concept. Yeah. But here's the thing. None of us have time. None of us have enough time to do all the things we want to do at work and in life. And we have to make choices. And if we can leverage tools such as some of those I've mentioned, others like Lavender, others like Drift, Salesforce, Gong, Clary, even ChatGPT or Gemini, using those tools can help you achieve more in less time with less friction. And if there's one thing people take away from today, if they're not leveraging that, is to take that first step. Every journey starts with the first step. The hardest thing about going to the gym is putting your trainers on. Guys, girls, put your trainers on, get out there, try some of these tools. If anybody is not sure where to start or wants to have a deeper conversation, because we've been very high level, which we have to be in these conversations, reach out to me, let me know. I'm happy to share some really concrete ideas, whether you're looking to improve your outreach, whether you're looking to improve your research, whether as a sales leader, you're looking to coach more effectively. These are all things where technology can help accelerate your effectiveness.
Absolutely. And I know that I've got some friends on the call, but they're very, very quiet. Come on, Alison, tell us how you're using AI, generative AI. And, certainly I've spoken to Alison. We use a particular tool that enables us to analyze salespeople and make sure that we've got the right people in the right seats. And what's great about that data, often we're asking, we're analyzing in the old world, we're analyzing things from data that isn't necessarily correct in the old world. Sometimes the data that we give these tools is not necessarily correct. So what we need to make sure, what the data in, as we know, rubbish in, rubbish out, the data we put in is great, is good data, is clean data. And so that's what we often do. We make sure that we get the right data on the salespeople, and to enable to coach them based upon their individual strengths and gaps, and we're able to use that data to actually coach them to be in the top quartile. So, what are some of the challenges? That's one of the challenges that I've discussed in terms of the data, not necessarily being clean data that we've used in the past. So what other challenges can you think of going forward?
Sorry, Janice, was that for me?
Yes.
Well, I thought you were including somebody from the audience.
I'm trying to encourage more questions from the audience. People I know that's on the
really
call.
quiet. So maybe my deep voice has just lulled people into a sense of slumber at the end of the day.
Think that's what it is?
Please, challenge. So what are the summer challenges? I think the first thing is, as I suggested and you reminded, we're still in the stage where the data is imperfect. Now, the data sets that we're able to analyze with the large language models have increased exponentially. But it's a bit like, I don't know, it's a little bit like, you got to be really careful. The more you look at stuff on Instagram, the more your world zooms in on that stuff. And it's a little bit like it with data. Be careful about the data that you're using to train your model. And no matter what the results of the model, always make sure that you've got human eyes checking things every step of the way. It is not imperfect. You look at a lot of the language on these generative AI tools. Things like statements like this can be wrong. So be careful about the data that you use to train it on. Be skeptical about the answers that you get. And always have that human level intervention, right? Just because it returns a result doesn't mean it's true. Just because you hear a piece of news, on a non-stream media channel doesn't mean it's true. It's really important to verify that data. And you only have to look at, right, the news around the sort of Ukrainian war and the terrible troubles that are going on in the Middle East at the moment. Each individual has a different view of it, and they're each trying to sort of spin it. And we've got to be careful that the AI is trained on the accurate data that truly reflects the reality of what we're in, and doesn't start to spin off down a channel that becomes self-fulfilling.
Absolutely. Okay, so in wrapping up, I have just reminding people of my next live workshop with Mary Shea, and I've posted the links to that, so please do make sure that you register. We'll be discussing the future of work and workforce and navigating the challenges through embracing technology and transformative technologies, and of course that will mean AI, generative AI. So in our first session we're talking globally what CEOs need to do, and on the next session we're going to delve down into the impact on sales teams and the workforce of sales teams, and go forward from there. So please do make sure you join us on the 27th of June. And I'd like to say thank you so much for being on the call with me. I've really enjoyed it, and I know that you're not feeling too well, so I really do appreciate it. And it's always good to pick your brains. It's always good to speak to you. I love our conversations, so thank you so much. Everyone, please do connect with Andy on LinkedIn. As I say, he's great, a great source of inspiration. Thank you, Andy.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me back.